What's up, everybody? What is up, everybody? How we doing this morning? It is 5:36 Pacific time, 8:36 Eastern time, and let's talk about it. Let's talk about all the things that are going on in the National Football League. Man, what a day yesterday! Like, what a crazy, 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 crazy day yesterday for all the things. But yeah, this is gonna be a day. It looks like Derek Brown's contract got restructured. So let's talk about that. It looks like Max Crosby stuff. There's news about that. So let's get to it. Man, how's everybody doing today? This is. Let me make sure I'm sharing my screen here. Share screen. Oh man, what a day! What a day! All right, we got that on here. Let me, man. All right, y'all seeing what I'm seeing? Okay. We're live, we're live, we're live, we're live, we're live, we're live, we're live. All right, let's start with some Diana Rossini. Trey Hendrickson has a chance to play in the AFC North a day after Baltimore straight from Max Crosby fell apart. A decision is expected to come today. The Eagles, the Colts, and now the Baltimore Ravens are all making offers in an attempt to land the top free agent remaining on the board. What else? Jared Goff contract restructure, creating $32 million in cap space. Whoa, that's kind of nice. Boy Mafe, 3 years, $60 million, $19 million guaranteed. Okay. Interesting. The Real Ball Watcher says Panthers refusing to release numbers on Phillips and Lloyd. I don't really know. I'm not really that worried about that. Maybe I should be. I don't know. Max Crosby is 8 weeks from having meniscus surgery and got off crutches only last week. He is on schedule and they are working to get him ready. Actually, let's see what
that news as you did from Maxx Crosby trade has been called off. I got that news as you did from Adam Schefter's Twitter feed. Shefty, what can you tell us? How in the world did this deal that was made on Friday night get called off on Tuesday?
Well, this is about a medical issue, Greeny, and this is about how different sides interpret the condition of Maxx Crosby's knee, which underwent surgery 8 weeks ago. He was on crutches until just last week. Now, in speaking with his doctor who performed the surgery, Neil Elatrosh, overnight, he felt like the timing of the physical could have been pushed back. But he does believe that Maxx Crosby is on schedule, and they're hoping to have him ready for the start of the regular season. But the issue is Maxx Crosby was in Baltimore on Tuesday for a physical. He met with doctors. Doctors took scans. Doctors looked at scans, and based on what they saw, the Ravens did not feel comfortable to pass him on that physical, which nullified the trade. Obviously, there are outside doctors that consulted as well, including the Cowboys surgeon, Dr. Cooper, who performed the surgery on Patrick Mahomes, who performed the surgery on Malik Neighbors, who many teams and NFL players look to for guidance. So if and when the Ravens decided to back out of the deal, it also came after consulting with the Cowboys doctor, Dr. Cooper, whatever was said. Now, the Raiders feel like the Ravens got cold feet, but the Ravens feel like they had a huge purchase They invested 2 first-round draft picks and one.
I want us to be clear about the role that Schefter plays here. The role that Schefter plays is to essentially, he's got relationships with agents, he's got relationships with players, he's got relationship with teams. So his job in these situations is always to benefit those relationships. So to me, of course, he is going to say something to the extent of, well, the Raiders, the Ravens thought A, B, C, or D. Right. So I love Shefty. I love Shefty way more than the next person, but we got to put things in context. Like we've got to put things in context, fam. And the context is that he serves the purpose of the agents, the players, and all of these things. That's what he does. Just so we're clear.
Once they had him in their building and reviewed all the tests, they were not comfortable moving ahead. The only analogy I could use is if you were to go buy a brand new house and it looked beautiful and you toured it online and then you agreed to purchase the home and you had an inspector come through who said he was worried about this and worried about that, would it make you nervous about executing that deal? Probably. And the Baltimore Ravens didn't like what they heard and they backed out of the deal. So now that leaves us, as the new league year opens today, in certainly an unusual spot, because Maxx Crosby is now a Raider. His money is back on their books. They're honoring their contracts. And the Ravens now don't have their pass rusher, but they have their first-round picks back.
Yeah, I just have a very hard time believing. I don't know. To me, the Ravens, we need to watch the Tom Pelissero rant, because when Tom Pelissero went on that rant yesterday, that showed me something. Tom Pelissero is somebody that is reasonable, calm, and he just thought, he said that one of his people said that this was, and I quote, bullshit. That's what he said. He said one of the GMs reached out to him and said, this is bullshit. That speaks to something. That's when I hear Pelissero saying that and getting that passionate, that says something. It is, oh man, what a mess this is. All right, let's listen to what Ian said.
I want to address a couple of things that Tom mentioned. First of all, for the Las Vegas Raiders, they did agree to terms with several free agents, spending more than $280 million in free agents. Those are going to stand. They can take Maxx Crosby back, his contract back, and my understanding that is exactly what is going to happen. And when Maxx Crosby left the Raiders several days ago, when we thought he left the Raiders, it was one of the NFL's worst rosters. They have spent a lot of money to bolster that roster. He now returns to the team with all eyes focused on being a member of the Raiders, getting his rehab right, and moving forward to a team that still needs a quarterback. They're going to get one with the number 1 overall pick, almost certainly Fernando Mendoza. But this team is now much better based on the players they acquired than it was. For the Baltimore Ravens, the term buyer's remorse is something that does come up a lot, not just from Tom, but certainly something I've heard in conversations with general managers and coaches last night. To that, I would say the Ravens wanted this to work. They wanted Maxx Crosby to be on their team. They wanted to send 2 first-round picks to the Raiders for the rights of one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. They wanted it all to happen, and when it seemed like it was falling apart, they still tried to make it work. They just were not comfortable with the medical. They were not comfortable that the player they believed they were acquiring was going to be at a point where he could play to the level that they all thought. It all sucks. There's a lot of blame, or whatever you want to say, responsibility to go around. But I think it is safe to say most people involved wanted this to happen. They just could not make this work.
Oh, I just have a really hard time believing. that. I don't know. I guess we'll know more. I'm excited about the reporting that The Athletic is going to do, and I'm excited about the reporting that other avenues are going to do. But just right off the bat, there's some real sus stuff with all of this. Like, it is very very suspicious that, I don't know. Well, I guess we'll just have to see. Albert Breer, all eyes are on the Ravens' next move and how hard they go after Bengals pass rusher Trey Hendrickson. The Colts have kept tabs on him, as have the Eagles and Cowboys. Baltimore quickly pivoting to Hendrickson would only bolster suspicions some teams have. So Breer even says it there. Breer says because one of the things that's happening, you can call it a conspiracy theory, you can call it whatever the hell you want, I don't care. But it would not be within the realm of possibility for the Ravens to say, why are we giving draft? Let's start to what happened yesterday. Schefter. Oh, hold on one second. I got a comment here. As soon as they heard Trey Henderson was being released, the Ravens said, let's give Crosby back, get our picks back, and just pay for Trey guaranteed. Ravens RBS. You know what? I appreciate the comment. And this is what I thought too. And some people might say, well, you're just engaging in conspiracy theories. I don't think I'm engaging in conspiracy theories. Like it is very convenient. It is very convenient because remember, Schefter said yesterday, Schefter went on Get Up and essentially said that the price had gone down because Hendrickson won at $30 million per year. Well, Hendrickson wasn't getting $30 million per year. He wasn't going to get $30 million per year. So what did this mean? This opened up the opportunity for the Ravens to potentially sign Hendrickson. I don't know. It's just, anyways, all eyes are on the Ravens' next move. I wanted to bring up a tweet that Billy put up, actually. Oh, this is interesting.
Circumstance that will create, this is a highly unusual circumstance that will create enormous ripple effects, and nobody knows
Appreciate the
how
comment.
it will turn out now.
Markham
whether
Lot
Maxx Crosby
01.
will wind up playing in Vegas, whether the Raiders will trade him, what the return in a trade for him will be, but no question that this is a setback for all involved right now, because the Baltimore Ravens essentially failed him on their physical. And my understanding is there were multiple doctors that reviewed his MRI scans. There were doctors that examined him, including Dr. Daniel Cooper, the Dallas Cowboys doctor that performed surgery on Patrick Mahomes and Malik Neighbors. Many teams and players rely on Dr. Cooper's expertise. And Dr. Cooper was one of the doctors that reviewed the images where the Ravens then felt compelled to back out of this.
Once again, if you're just joining us, Schefter's job is to uphold the relationships that he has with people in the league. His job is not to uphold. His job is not to uphold the truth or the integrity. I love Schefter more than the next person. Okay. I love Schefter more than the next person. I love the insiders more than their job is not to uphold what the truth in this situation. It's essentially to say he's got relationships with agents, with players, with everybody. So I just want to be clear on that. Ugh. Chason is signing with the Commanders, another edge for Washington. Okay. We've got some news on Oliveras, Tucker, $3 million for $2 million. Man, this is just crazy. This is just crazy, y'all. I've been told, wait, who is Vincent? Okay, regardless. I've been told by two league sources that the Raiders should have necessary cap space to welcome Maxx back and honor all free agent commitments that they made. If so, the team Crosby returns to is far different than the one he briefly left, enough to want to stay. Interesting. My God, what a mess.
Agency, so I'm not going to spend as much. I don't get as involved with free agency, so I'm not going to spend as much time. We don't spend a lot of money in free agency, as Todd knows. That's why he's always hated the Baltimore Ravens.
He's not lying.
We've
He's
never
not
been
lying.
a free agency team. We're a draft and develop team. So a lot of our resources are going to be acquiring as many draft picks as possible, and then using those on players, trying to hit on as many picks as we can, trying to hit on 60% of our draft picks every single year, and trying to retain as many of those guys as we can for a second contract.
Interesting. Very, very, very interesting. Very, 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 very interesting. Trevor from PFF, John Spytek coming to grips with the Crosby trade falling through, but then adding Crosby's name to their new look at the depth chart. I have no idea if they can afford all their agreements anymore. Chaos like I've never seen before. It's true. I don't know that we've ever seen something like this happen in the National Football League. Remember, in the NBA, this happened last year. There was a trade. I can't remember that. I'm more well versed in the NFL than the NBA, but there was a trade that essentially went down where they traded somebody from the Hornets to the Lakers, and then the Lakers said nah, and everybody was like, that sounds kind of fishy. It sounds kind of fishy. This is what it's giving, the same kind of vibe. It's giving the same kind of vibe here, to be quite honest. So, all right, let's see what Tucker's saying here.
I experienced this in 2000. Different teams have different standards when it comes to physicals. I experienced this in 2007. First free agent visit, went to Washington. They passed me on my physical, offered me a contract with a signing bonus. I go to Atlanta on my next visit. I'm in a limo with Joe Horn. I'm thinking I'm going to sign with Atlanta because I think it's a better situation for me. I never even made it to the Falcons facility. Right after I met with the doctors, they said, Ross, you failed your physical. And they took me right back to the airport. Got on the phone, called my agent, tell Washington, tell the Redskins we accept right away. Because those were the only two teams that wanted me. Washington, Atlanta. Atlanta failed me. End up signing Trey Hendrickson. That's going to invite all kinds of speculation that they actually had buyer's remorse with Maxx Crosby, and that it wasn't really a failed physical. Now, the Ravens could argue we need an elite edge rusher. It's critical to our defense. Maxx failed the physical. We got to get somebody. Trey's still available. Okay. But there's also something to be said for we're a couple days into free agency. Hendrickson's market, probably not what he thought it would be. Did the Ravens maybe realize they could get a very good player for less money than Crosby and no first-round picks and not coming off of a meniscus repair?
Even for the Ravens fans in here that are saying there's no way that they would do that, or for the Ravens fans that are saying, like, you're making some assumptions, I'm willing to entertain that, but I do need you to also entertain the don't call people crazy for saying, did you all do this on purpose because you think you could have gotten Trey at a cheaper deal? It is not that crazy for people to think, hey, maybe there's something suspicious in the air here. That's all I have to say about that. That's literally all I have to say about that, because I don't know. All right, let's see what our good friend Dan's saying.
Give me a team that adds Trey Hendrickson and you say, okay, boom, now all of a sudden they're my team to go?
Well, Buffalo, 1, Philadelphia, 2, Baltimore, 3, Rams, 4. I'll focus on Baltimore. If I'm Baltimore now, I was willing to part with those 2 picks for X-player, Maxx Crosby. If I'm Baltimore now, and with all the money, why would I not be trying to sign Trey Hendrickson and calling Philly to see if I can trade for A.J. Brown? He's not going to command trade-wise as much as Maxx Crosby did. So, in essence, if I was willing to get rid of those picks, 2 ones, and the money for 1 player, if you're Baltimore, why would you not be willing to get rid of some part of those picks and money for 2 players, Hendrickson and A.J. Brown?
Give me a team that adds Trey Hendrickson, and you say, okay, boom, now all of a sudden they're my team to go.
Greg Rosenthal tweeted this last night. Greg's really good. If y'all want a podcast that just focuses on the NFL, that the NFL Network puts out, he's phenomenal. Y'all should follow his stuff. But he says, keep thinking about what Rap Sheet said on NFL Daily in late February when he noted how difficult and rare it is for a player as injured as Crosby was to get traded before the deadline. I mean, it's so complicated, man. So freaking complicated. In Panthers news, Derek Brown, it looks like Derek Brown's contract got restructured. It's adding $13.5 million. So that's positive. Greg Rosenthal, again, let's see what Greg just said here. I'd still expect Maxx Crosby to be an ex-Raider sooner rather than later. Man, this is just nuts, y'all. This is just absolutely crazy. I'm shook. I don't know that we've ever gotten news like that. You know, like, I don't know that we've ever gotten news like that that's broken like that. That's led to whatever the hell this is. Also, did y'all see this? So the coach, I know we don't cover a lot of baseball here, but this is nuts. Did y'all see that the USA coach thought that they didn't need to beat Italy? And that's why maybe they weren't playing with urgency?
You got 9 bodies ready to roll today, I would imagine.
Absolutely. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to get some guys off their feet. No question about it. I'd like to get Goldie a start. And, he has been awesome. Just a leader of men behind the scenes with Aaron Judge. I'd like to get him in there. I'd like to get Gunnar in there again. Ton of respect for Italy. It's weird. We want to win. We want to win this game, even though our ticket's punched to the quarterfinal.
We want to win our game even though our ticket is punched to the quarterfinal. Your ticket wasn't punched into the quarterfinal, bro. He's definitely getting fired when he gets home.
Finals because
oh my God,
Mexico plays Italy actually tomorrow. So the way the schedule lines up, this is an important game for us. Nolan McLean will start. He's on the bump and he's good to go. He's an absolute beast.
Oh my gosh, that's something else. He's definitely getting fired. I mean, he's most definitely getting fired when he gets home. That's all I got to say. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, that's just crazy. That's just crazy. Bam scored 83 points last night, and that was kind of crazy. Man. Yeah, I guess that's all. Well, is this more stuff?
It'd be faster.
And this gigantic bombshell from the National Football League. The Raiders announced that the Ravens backed out of the trade agreement that would have sent all-pro defensive end and game wrecker Maxx Crosby to the Ravens in exchange for 2 first-round picks. League sources told ESPN the Ravens backed out because of medical concerns which arose during the physical. This truly was one of these things. I'm outside walking into the building, looking at the phone as one tends to do. And I thought that a bunch of the newsbreakers on social media got, right? Like I'm reading this and it's the aggregators and all. And I'm like, no, this isn't true. Oh, wait, this is a real thing. Oh, this is a real thing. One of those moments you can't believe, kind of like 83 points. It doesn't seem like it's real, but it is.
I remember texting, so I'm in a group chat with a bunch of like friends that we just talk about sports stuff, and I said, "Holy shit! Holy shit! Holy shit! Holy shit!"
And now what? So about that. There's the tweet. Joined up by ESPN senior NFL insider Adam Schefter. And Adam, it's rare having
Adam looks literally so mad that he has to work. He's like, I was not scheduled to work at this time. Look at his face. Adam's just like, why am I here? Why am I here?
joined up.
Adam's like, please make this end. Why are you making me work?
By ESPN senior NFL insider Adam Schefter. And Adam, it's rare, having done this for as long as I have, I don't want to speak for you, that I'm truly a wait, what kind of a moment. Luka to the Lakers. Hold on a second. What? I'm literally outside looking at my phone and I see this and I think everybody on the internet's been duped. This isn't real. It's real. What happened? What do you know?
Well, Scott, rarely see trades as large as the one that the Raiders and Ravens agreed to on Friday night, where you say, whoa,
right?
And then you rarely see a trade voided the way that this one was when the Baltimore Ravens backed out of the arrangement that they had made with the Raiders on Friday, nullifying the trade just before the NFL new league year begins at 4 p.m. on Wednesday. Happy New Year to you and everyone out there, Scott. This is a highly unusual circumstance that will create enormous ripple effects, and nobody knows how it will turn out now. Whether Maxx Crosby will wind up playing in Vegas, whether the Raiders will trade him, what the return in a trade for him will be, but no question that this is a setback for all involved right now, because the Baltimore Ravens essentially failed him on their physical. And my understanding is there were multiple doctors that reviewed his MRI scans. There were doctors that examined him, including Dr. Daniel Cooper, the Dallas Cowboys doctor that performed surgery on Patrick Mahomes and Malik Neighbors. Many teams and players rely on Dr. Cooper's expertise. And Dr. Cooper was one of the doctors that reviewed the images.
Yeah, I think the narrative now is going to be, the narrative that Schefter's putting out is that there's multiple doctors that got involved, and there's multiple opinions, and there's multiple things at play, and multiple this and multiple. I want y'all to know this is all part of what happens. This is all part of what happens. I want to see the reporting on The Athletic about it.
Back out of this trade. So there are a whole host of ramifications. Moments ago, Maxx Crosby's agent, CJ LeBoy, issued a statement that Maxx Crosby is doing great. He'll be back better than ever, and he'll be the game wrecker. But meanwhile, the Raiders have Maxx Crosby back in their possession. The Ravens need to move on, and Maxx Crosby now needs to figure out where he's going to be playing in 2026 as he continues to recover from what was said to be a significant knee injury.
Adam, I had an executive just not suggesting it was fact, but just wondering out loud, like, I don't know, the Ravens got cold feet. I don't know what the talk is around the league, but whatever happens, I mean, you've had 2 days.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. We've got breaking news. Well, it happened 6 minutes ago, so I don't know how breaking it is. Oh my God. Everybody, hold on. Let me share the screen. Are y'all seeing what I'm seeing? Trey Hendrickson, the top pass rusher on the market, is set to sign with the Ravens per me and Tom Pelissero. Oh my God. Oh my God. They did it with a Maxx Crosby trade off Baltimore lanes, the top edge available. Holy I can't believe they did it. Oh my God. That's crazy. That's crazy. Guys, that is absolutely nuts. They did it. They literally did it. That is so nuts, dude. That is literally so nuts. It's a 4-year, $112 million deal. Oh my gosh. What the hell? That is sus. That is so sus. I can't believe they did that. Yeah, I literally can't believe they did that. That is so the Ravens back out, and then the next day, Hendrickson makes a deal. What is 4 years, $112 million? 112 divided by 4. So $28 million per year. It's going to be interesting to see what's guaranteed out of that deal. But yeah, that is, oh my God. I'm kind of shocked by just how ridiculous this is. That's crazy. Okay, so Diana Rossini, Baltimore stayed in touch with Henderson's camp yesterday, and most in the Ravens building, including the front office, it's knew they were landing the formal Bengal this morning. Well, everybody's going to hate the Bengals now, so I guess we have a new villain. I guess we have a new villain in the. But that is nuts. Oh my gosh. Most teams expect that Hendrickson to get $24 to $25 million per year. The Ravens take a big swing after moving on from Maxx Crosby last night. I'm just shocked. I'm in absolute shock. Also, that's the first time that kind of news is broken while we've been live, but that is absolutely insane. It is absolutely insane that they're getting away with that thievery, y'all. I'm not going to lie. That's absolutely insane. Oh. Billy said Ravens had no issues covering up Justin Tucker's actions or drafting Mike Green last year. Terrible organization. And humane to put these three in the same bucket, to be honest. I don't care. Beautiful false equivalencies. Nope. Billiam has no issues repeatedly bashing the image of a young man who was only accused of crimes and never convicted, much less even tried. Meanwhile, he has no public comment about James Pierce, a player who he praised on his X account. Billiam has no moral high ground. Damn. Oh my gosh. Okay, here we go.
Real. The Baltimore Ravens have agreed to terms with Trey Hendrickson on a 4-year, $112 million deal. This is something that Hendrickson has been holding out for, this kind of money on a multi-year deal, the kind of security that he's wanted, the kind that a top edge can make. And he now lands with the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay.
Perhaps you've heard the Ravens had an agreement with Maxx Crosby on a trade to bring in one of the top edge rushers in the NFL while also giving up 2 first-round picks. That trade is now off. The Baltimore Ravens worked incredibly quickly to get in the mix, Tom, for Trey Hendrickson. Crosby out, Hendrickson in. They solidify the edge with a huge payday, and Hendrickson himself lands in an absolutely perfect spot. It is not hypothetical. It is real. The Baltimore Ravens have agreed to terms with Trey Hendrickson on a 4-year, $112 million deal. This is something that Hendrickson has been holding out for, this kind of money on a multi-year deal, the kind of security that he's wanted, the kind that a top edge can make. And he now lands with the ball.
Rossini is saying the Baltimore Ravens have reached agreement with former Bengal defensive end Trey Hendrickson. Source tells me in The Athletic, after backing out of the Maxx Crosby trade, Baltimore pivots to sign the 2024 All-Pro. Man, that's crazy. That's just crazy. This is good by Jonathan Jones. This has to be the first trade for 2 first-round picks that winds up not going through massive implications for both teams, as well as the ripple effects across the league. He's right. Man, this is just insane. It's just I don't know that we in NFL history that we have ever been a part of something like this, where like a team signs him, they fail the physical, and then they get somebody that is just as good. And for those of you that are telling me that Trey Hendrickson is not just as good, I need you to like reassess reality, because last year Trey Hendrickson was freaking phenomenal. I mean, just out of this world phenomenal. That's something else, man. I'm still a little shook. I'm still a little shook about all of that. That is absolute bananas. I don't know what else you say except that it's absolute bananas. For those of you on YouTube, y'all have questions, comments, concerns? Like what are y'all's thoughts on YouTube? I can't see what y'all are saying on Twitter, but like on YouTube, what do you think is going on? Because that's just nuts. Oh my God. 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 Steve, about 45 minutes ago, said need a Trey to the Ravens. Albert Breer with the emoji. Now it makes sense. Ravens got their edge without the draft capital. Smart move by them. Man, we're going to have, the Ravens are essentially going to be the LeBron James of the league now when he went to Miami. Like, everyone is going to hate playing with them. This is just absolute bonkers. So curious to see if this has a noticeable negative impact on Ravens' ability to work with other teams. Optics on this are so rough. You think there will be an investigation or punishment of some kind? There should be, but I guess since Crosby is technically injured, it's hard to prove anything. Totally unethical, though, and just doesn't happen on this level. I agree. It's very, very suspicious. Incredibly suspicious. The Ravens had buyer's remorse over trading 2 first-round picks, something they've never done before. That's the thing that I think people have to remember. The Ravens, and DeCosta has actually said this in multiple interviews, right? The Ravens are an organization. He said it. He wants to draft. He wants to hit on 60% of his draft picks. And that's how they develop guys. Like, that's crazy. The Ravens had buyer's remorse over trading 2 first-round picks for Maxx Crosby, plus his $65 million cap for the next 2 years. They saw Trey Hendrickson asking price fall after he couldn't agree to a deal in the first 2 days of legal tampering. This is also true. Because if you remember, Schefter went on Pat McAfee and essentially said, nope, this isn't going to happen. He said, nope, this isn't going to happen. They saw Trey Hendrickson's asking price fall after he couldn't agree to a deal in the first 2 days of legal tampering. Of course, Crosby wasn't 100%, but they knew that already and realized they could pay less, give up 0 draft capital, and still get edge Trey Hendrickson. So they used the opportunity to get out of using a failed physical, a conspiracy theorist dream. At this point, I don't trust I don't know. Maxx Crosby just posted an ambiguous video of a silhouette against a starry night with Future blaring in the background. I've never been more confident. I mean, Trevor's right on that. It does feel like if there's going to be any time and any chance for Max Crosby to be pissed as hell, it's going to be right now. Like, he is going to go on a straight up revenge tour. He's going to go for 20, 25, 30 sacks, no problem. I mean, oh my God, what a mess. What an absolute mess this is for all parties involved. The Philadelphia Eagles, so this is Rossini reporting, the Philadelphia Eagles have had lines into both Trey Hendrickson camp as well as Minnesota's regarding Jonathan Greenard, whatever. We'll see what Howie Roseman decides to do after the Ravens take Hendrickson off the board. My God. Since 2021, Trey Hendrickson ranks second at the NFL in pressure rate, fourth in sacks that results in fumbles per ESPN research. My God. John, who covers the Panthers. So yeah, any reason Baltimore waited until today to do Max Crosby's physical? Was this his first and only one with a team? Crazy story. Oh my God. This is so crazy. Oh my God. I need to save this. I'm absolutely shook. I'm absolutely shook about how this has gone down. We've never seen something like this go down like this, ever. Like, we've literally never seen it. Okay. Get Up is already tweeting about this. We've got live reaction.
Or may have been interested in Max Crosby, have made other arrangements. Yes. Trey Hendrickson remains out there. All those possibilities. Let me get the guys in before Mike Tannenbaum confuses us even further with all the machinations that could go on. Sinead called the basketball thing like a global pause. Like, the moment you heard this, which I know was on the flight with Shefty.
I slapped Shefty because we were on the airplane.
Yeah. Tell me, what was the first thought in your head? What is your first reaction to this?
Was it real? Is it possible? How could a team do this? I'm a viewer right now. I'm not an expert in this, so I have so many questions of, well, when the surgery happened, was it deemed a successful surgery? To have concerns about him long-term, how did you not have concerns about him long-term on Friday when you executed the trade, but then you do have concerns?
You know what is going to be interesting? The owners meeting. When they all have to meet for the owners meeting and it's awkward. That's what I'm excited about. That's going to be nuts.
Long-term today, that would be that drastic. I understand that if he had a meniscus repair, right?
Yeah.
But he had a meniscus repair. Of course, we're going to have long.
Are all those exactly the same?
I would imagine they're somewhat similar. It's a meniscus.
But one way or another.
So, like, what changed from Friday that drastically? I understand it, but how does it go from executing this to, oh my gosh, we can't do this?
I'm told Shefty can clarify that. Shefty, go.
Well, I think there were questions about Max Crosby's knee when the trade was agreed to. And then he was brought in for the physical, and those questions became exacerbated. Now, you heard Dr. Elatrosh himself talk this morning. I put it out on Twitter, on social media, where he said there were issues with the meniscus, cartilage, and bone. So it was a serious surgery. And Dr. Elatrosh said he is on schedule. But the problem is the timing of the physical. The timing of the physical is not in 2 or 3 months when Max Crosby would be further ahead. It was yesterday when the Ravens have to make a decision about whether to surrender as much compensation and salary as they would have. And again, after the medical exam, they were not comfortable doing that.
We're going to listen to that again because I needed to get a drink.
All these other teams that thought they were or may have been interested in Max Crosby have made other arrangements. Yes. Trey Hendrickson remains out there. All those possibilities. Let me get the guys in before Mike Tannenbaum confuses us even further with all the machinations that could go on. Sinead called the basketball thing like a global pause. Like, the moment you heard this, which I know was on the flight with
I
Shefty.
slapped Shefty because we were on the airplane.
Yeah, tell me, what was the first thought in your head? What is your first reaction to this?
So
Was it real?
man.
Is it possible? How could a team do this? I'm a viewer right now. I'm not an expert in this, so I have so many questions of, well, when the surgery happened, was it deemed a successful surgery? To have concerns about him long term, how did you not have concerns about him long term on Friday when you executed the trade, but then you do have concerns long term today? That would be that drastic. I understand that if he had a meniscus repair,
right?
though, but he had a meniscus repair. Of course, you're going to have long.
Are all those exactly the same?
I would imagine they're somewhat similar. It's a meniscus,
But
when
one
you're
way or
repairing
another-
it. So, like, what changed from Friday that drastically? I understand it, but how does it go from executing this to, oh my gosh, we can't do this?
I'm told Shefty can clarify that.
I've got plenty of qualms about the way that Dana Orlovsky does things. Dana's completely right there. Everybody knew about how bad this was. Like, everybody knew. The conspiracy theories are I mean, they essentially just signed Trey for a lower price. That's what it was. They literally just signed Trey for a lower price.
Shefty, go.
Well, I think there were questions about Maxx Crosby's knee when the trade was agreed to. And then he was brought in for the physical, and those questions became exacerbated. Now, you heard Dr. Elatrosh himself talk this morning. I put it out on Twitter, on social media, where he said there were issues with the meniscus, cartilage, and bone. So it was a serious surgery. And Dr. Elatrosh said he is on schedule. But the problem is the timing of the physical. The timing of the physical is not in 2 or 3 months when Maxx Crosby would be further ahead. It was yesterday when the Ravens have to make a decision about whether to surrender as much compensation and salary as they would have. And again, after the medical exam.
I feel like of all the things that Schefter has said, that is the most believable. If the concern is, because here's what I think happened. I think if Hendrickson had not come, like if Hendrickson had not essentially shown up, if his market had not gone down to the extent that it had gone down, I think they would have been like, oh, we're still doing this thing. Like, let's do it right now, right? But I think the Ravens saw an opportunity. They said, oh, the price has gone down. Let's go do this thing, essentially. Man, but this is bonkers. This is absolutely bonkers. Diana Rossini tweeted something out that I wanted to share. See, there's so many tweets coming through. It has been made clear by multiple people around the NFL and at all levels that Baltimore had all the information and understood where Maxx Crosby knee was in terms of his recovery timeline. The league believes DaCosta and the Ravens ultimately got cold feet. When there's multiple insiders saying the same things, we should probably listen. Schefter isn't saying that. Schefter is, I think, really defending the Ravens, but I think Rossini is essentially saying, and Pelissero said this on NFL Network too, right? Like, the market for Trey Hendrickson was sitting between $25 million and $27 million per year the last couple of days, which is why he lingered on the market. The Ravens go to $28 million and land him in the immediate Mac rush. Just an insane turn of events. I'm sure Ravens fans feel underwhelmed considering everything that's happened in the last 14 hours, but this is a great signing for Baltimore. Hendrickson stays in the division. Bengals will regret being cheap. Man, it is. It is crazy. It is absolutely crazy. Man. I'm shook. Ron Stewart, who does a lot of really good fantasy football content, said, I really like him a lot. Y'all should follow him. But he essentially said, oh, my bad. I wasn't sharing what I was looking at. Oh, that's my fault. My fault. Ron Stewart, who I really, really like, said, man, the Ravens should have to forfeit a draft pick. This is shady business. He's right. It is shady. It is very, very shady. Oh, okay. Let's see what Ian's saying here.
This is a risk, right? Here's what I would say. This is a risk, right? So I had this conversation with the general manager last night to try to understand, like, what does this mean, right? Okay, so basically what the Ravens would theoretically do is they would take a bet, not a real bet, betting is bad, but take a bet on Maxx Crosby. You would say, we believe his knee is good, and I would bet $10. Would you bet $100? Okay, I would. What about $1,000? Sure, I would. Then it's like, what about your house? Would you bet your house? Like, would you bet all the money you have? That's really what it is for the Baltimore Ravens. So we can all talk about, well, they should have been comfortable. It's a projection. And, you know, theoretically, they knew that it, you know, had some ways to go, even though he's doing well. Yes, that is all true. But the Ravens needed to bet the house on Maxx Crosby. And they just, after the medical exams, after getting in there, after doing all the work that they had preliminary work. Yesterday afternoon was the real work. They did not believe the risk was worth it. So the deal was off.
But
They pivoted
here's
to
the
Henderson
issue with
without
that.
knowing where.
And Ian is actually taking the Schefter approach with this. Here's the issue with that. The issue with that is that they knew that this is what they signed up for, and they did not want to take the risk. They knew this already. This is nothing new. Just be honest. What happened is they saw the Hendrickson value go down. Remember, Schefter came out with that report that Hendrickson wanted $30 million per year and wasn't happy that Phillips was getting all this money. Just say that. Just be honest and say that.
Whether or not they were going to get him. And this morning, as we just reported, they got him. Here's what I would say.
Oh my God. Just absolutely insane. Okay, so Warren Sharp is saying, hold on. This was, okay, so this is recent. Let me make sure. Ravens had rescinded deals in the past because of issues with physicals. In 1997, Baltimore backed out of a deal with the Cowboys safety Brock Marion. Wow, all the way to 97. Good gracious, Shifty. Because he was going to sign a contract because the team discovered a potential problem with his left shoulder. In 2018, Baltimore voided its 4-year, $29 million agreement with wide receiver Ryan Grant after he failed physical. So then Warren says, not only did Brock Marion play all 16 games in 1997 after the Ravens failed him, he only missed one game the next 8 seasons. He played 127 out of 128 games the rest of his career and made 3 Pro Bowls along the way. Wow. Former Bear scout Robert Guns has signed with the Ravens. Then they flunked him on the medical. We passed him and signed him, and he had no issues when he was a Bear. Played all 16 games for 5 straight years and all 16 games for 8 of the 9 years. Oh, my God. Yeah, the Ravens are never beating these allegations. Oh, also, this came through. The Bills have restructured the contract of Josh Allen, creating over $40 million in cap space. Teams that are interested in Maxx Crosby believe the Raiders aren't going to come off their asking price. I mean, that makes sense, right? Like it would not be advantageous for them to be coming off that. Oh my God. What an absolute mess, y'all. Not only do the Raiders lose out on their deals, so did the Colts by not landing Hendrickson after the Ravens were back in play.
In this draft is plus Trey Hendrickson in the short term might be just as valuable, if not more valuable, than Maxx Crosby. Now, Shefty just said that they were talking to Hendrickson anyway. Maybe this deal happens even if the Crosby deal doesn't get called off. We'll never know. But taking only what we know into account, to me, the Ravens come out of this outstandingly well. Dan.
Maxx Crosby is one of 3 or 4 people that ruin games. Trey Hendrickson's a great player, led the NFL in sacks 2 years ago. Great player. Maxx Crosby, I would tell you, when he's at his best, different level. I don't disagree that the Ravens now getting Trey Hendrickson and keeping that pick as for now And if they can get a high-level interior offensive lineman with that pick in a much better overall, I don't want to say better. They're in a very strong place in comparison to where they were with giant question marks at some spots.
I'll give you a name, which would be Spencer Fano. Could be a player who could be available there. Was a tackle in college. Will probably move inside. Might be available at number 14. They lost Tyler Linderbaum, their center. He might be someone. I'm just making up a name here. I have no idea if that's who they'll take at 14. But that combination, I think this is as good a pivot as you could have possibly imagined.
I think what Dan is saying, I agree with, assuming that the Maxx Crosby you were going to get is the Maxx Crosby that they expected. I still think ultimately they would have rather had this work out the original way they planned, because that was the assumption they were getting that version of Maxx Crosby. If they believe, based on what the doctors suggest, that that version of Maxx Crosby isn't going to be there, this is an excellent pivot. It seems like the Raiders are the big loser in all of this, obviously, because what they had was a foundation of something that we were starting to believe in.
Yeah, the Raiders essentially, to me, I mean, and John Leonard, he has a really good Substack. He's a NFL draft guy. He does all it. He brought up a good point. Is this going to prevent future teams from working deals with the Ravens? And I think it's a fair point, to be quite honest, because if the Ravens are willing to say, "Oh, there's a better thing here," then yeah, who wants to work with them? Who wants to work with them if they're going to like pull that stunt?
Raiders for the first time in a long time. And that changes. You can overhaul a bunch of things, including that offensive line, with 3 picks in the first round over the next this draft and next draft.
Right.
That's gone now. And now they have a player that can't help them win the championship that I think they're aiming for, and is much less valuable than he was just a day ago.
I do feel compelled to point out that this signing cannot be official until he passes a physical.
Well done.
I'm not kidding.
Right. Well done.
Right.
He
So
was injured too,
he wasn't. But anyway, there's no reason to believe it won't. The Ravens are in some level of desperation mode with regard to their pass rush. It was extremely out of character for them to give up 2 first-round picks for a player, even 1, let alone 2. It's extremely out of character for them to sign an outside free agent at this level. And this might be a little in the weeds, but these compensatory picks teams get every year, the Ravens are the most obsessed and the best at getting them. They were going to get a 3rd-rounder next year for Ty.
It's true. Like the 2 teams, and maybe I need to look it up again to verify, but the 2 teams that are always phenomenal at getting comp picks are the Ravens and the Eagles. They get so many because they are just, it's all about them. So for them to go out and spend big money on this is just, it's not what they do.
Tyler Linderbaum signing with the Raiders. Now this probably cancels that out. My point is the Ravens are acting like.
All right. So Rossini just tweeted this out. So where do things stand now between the Raiders and Maxx Crosby? I'm told Crosby is at the Raiders facility today. So Crosby is on site. As he continues to rehab, Las Vegas can still trade a star if he wants, but there's a reality where Crosby is playing for the Raiders this upcoming season. Regardless of which uniform he wears in 2026, one source texted, Maxx is going to be a monster this year as an FU to Baltimore. Dang. That's crazy. Oh, Breer just came out with an article. This is going to be good. I want to make this big because I realized the last time I tried to share this, it wasn't really working. So let me make sure that the tab is shared. Okay, so y'all can see this, right? If you can't, let me know. Answering the biggest questions surrounding the canceled Maxx Crosby trade. Albert Breer spoke to several GMs around the league about how physicals usually work, what have happened, and what comes next for the Raiders and the Ravens. Oh, hell no. We're not doing this. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Get out of here. This will be my 22nd season covering the NFL, and I legitimately can't think of a precedent for what went down on Tuesday night. We've seen failed physicals. Oh, my God. This is so obnoxious. I'm pretty sure I don't need this. Damn it. I don't want to put in my information. So the Albert Beer stuff is going to have to wait, I guess. That's crazy. That's absolutely insane. Like, that's absolutely crazy. Also in Panthers news, the Panthers have restructured Derek Brown. I already said that. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of these jokes. Trey Hendrickson still has to pass a physical. That's very, very funny. Medical opinions are just that. So it's unclear if 31 other teams would arrive at the same conclusion Baltimore did, but this could be a blow to the Raiders' so-called resale value. If they do sign Hendrickson, who isn't actually durable, then this seems coordinated and dirty. At least Billy is saying something. At least Billy is being honest about the fact that, like, he's just like, yeah, this is bullshit, essentially. Also, in the massive news of what happened, NFL now is exploring a game on Thanksgiving Eve as early as this season. This year, this would be Wednesday, November 25th. Oh, my God.
Tuesday evening, eve of free agency. Signings can be official tomorrow morning. And here we are with Maxx Crosby's deal in the trade to Baltimore falling through because the Ravens failed him on a physical exam. The Raiders were pissed off about this, went to Twitter, posted a note on there saying how this was occurring, and it was because of the Baltimore Ravens and the fact that they failed him on a physical. Now, obviously, the Baltimore Ravens and everybody else knew that Maxx Crosby missed the last 2 games of the season. He wanted to keep playing. He got knee surgery on his meniscus and was planning on playing this year. He was walking around, took some videos of himself, moving about, looked like he was in great shape post-surgery. The Baltimore Ravens say, no, we're canceling this deal. We want our first-round picks back. Now, this has massive ripple effects around the NFL. Obviously, we know that it's going to impact Las Vegas Raiders, who did not have Crosby on their books and his large cap hit for 2026, and were anticipating that they were going to get extra draft capital in the draft with the first-round picks being returned from the Baltimore Ravens. They had a ton of free agents that they signed, the number one most of any team in the NFL in terms of a dollar amount they went out.
True.
And some of those players were directly to replace what Maxx Crosby was going to give them. So the question is, do those deals get finalized, or are the Raiders able to trade with another team who might pass Maxx Crosby on a physical and allow that to happen? Now, there's a report tonight that the Dallas Cowboys are not going to be one of those teams, although the Dallas Cowboys apparently were at the neck and neck at the finish line with the Baltimore Ravens for Maxx Crosby in the first place. Maxx Crosby ends up going to it. Was the Baltimore Ravens failing Maxx Crosby on a physical legitimate? Because you could have any number of gray area involved in what you decide to pass or fail on a physical exam, and some teams might pass a guy and some teams might.
Taxes was chasing updates. Now Taxes is a TurboTax expert, doing it all for you, so you can chase this feeling. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax.
About what the Ravens' potential future could be with them, just hypothetically. Ian, 2 minutes ago, you tweeted it. You guys are both all over it. Ian and then Tom, I want to hear the latest breaking news. Go ahead.
It is not hypothetical. It is real. The Baltimore Ravens have agreed to terms with Trey Hendrickson on a 4-year, $112 million deal. This is something that Hendrickson has been holding out for. This kind of money on a multi-year deal, the kind of security that he's wanted, the kind that a top edge can make. And he now lands with the Baltimore Ravens. Perhaps you've heard the Ravens had an agreement with Maxx Crosby on a trade to bring in one of the top with Trey Hendrickson. Crosby out Hendrickson
That's
in, they
crazy.
solidify the edge with a huge payday, and Hendrickson himself lands in an absolutely perfect spot.
So let's make the natural connections here of how all the dots fit together. The Ravens told the Raiders this was a medical decision.
We need to pull up the Pelissero stuff from yesterday because he looked pissed as hell. I know if y'all saw that. He was just like he was hearing from GMs how all of this was like, I guess I can cuss on YouTube and Twitter, bullshit. So like, yeah, that's nuts.
Call off the Maxx Crosby trade based upon his knee. Baltimore has not commented publicly on that decision. I would certainly anticipate if and when they do, they will pin it strictly as a medical decision. However, signing Trey Hendrickson to a 4-year, $112 million deal 13 hours after the trade was called off will do very little to quiet some of the questions within the league about what the other circumstances were that led to the Crosby deal falling through. So for Trey Hendrickson, this is a windfall. As Ian said, this was the type of deal that he was hoping to get. Now have Maxx Crosby's contract back on the books. They may have to adjust some things, delay some things, change the timeline of when they are doing some of the many hundreds of millions of dollars they committed in new contracts to make sure they are cap compliant, because the new league year begins at 4 p.m. Eastern time today. They need to have the cap in order by tomorrow. And as for Maxx Crosby, he is expected, as Ian reported last hour, to be back in the building this morning. I believe he is right now actually working out, rehabbing, getting his knee right. It remains unclear if he is going to play for the Raiders again, but he is a Raider. Trey Hendrickson is a Raven. Up is down. Cold is hot. The sun is dark, Kyle. The entire NFL has been turned on its head, and we are just getting started with all the fallout from this with Maxx Crosby.
We have a solar eclipse. First of all, thrilled for Trey Hendrickson. I did not think this thing was going to have a happy ending. After all he's been through, I just can't imagine it ended like this. Not only does he get this huge deal, he will now play against the team that didn't give him the huge deal at least twice a year. Let's get into this, though, because we talked about it last hour. I want to hear Tom and I want to hear Ian. Just riddle me this. The Baltimore Ravens are going to bring in Maxx Crosby. They're thrilled. We do the Photoshops. They got their pass rusher of the future. Couple days go by, during which time they lose their center, they lose other players. Trey Hendrickson is sitting there, and no one seems to be grabbing him. In the meantime, you say, wow, Maxx Crosby, it's very expensive in terms of draft picks. What if we could
Thank you, Kyle, for asking the questions that every fan of the game is interested in
no
asking.
chill or subtlety
Thank you,
doing
Kyle.
in about 13 hours, and we already
Thank
have
you,
the
Kyle.
news. There's a lot of fans out there saying skullduggery, weak sauce, all these things, that they work the system and were disingenuous. Those are loaded words. I want a response from the Ravens. In the meantime, both of you guys followed this stuff. What's your reaction?
Kyle, the fans are important. We love the fans. I would tell you the same things. And as you see, both me and Ian both looking over at our iPads as texts are flooding in. I am getting texts from GMs right now with many, many questions about the circumstances of what took place over the last several days since the Ravens acquired a player temporarily, unofficially, on Friday night, who the entire league knew was coming off of.
Can you imagine having this job where you have to go on NFL Network and then you're getting texts from GMs?
Roughly June.
That would be a
4 to
crazy
6
world.
month recovery.
This is
His
the
agents
world
were
that they live
transparent
in.
with teams that he was not going to be cleared until right.
Your upgrade is ready, Miss Langley. My upgrade? Enjoy.
See y'all later.
Experience the sounds of Nashville with Chase Staff.
You know what the time is? You know what time it is? It's time for all the doctors to rise up. Like, this is the doctor time, right? Like, this is the time for the doctors. I feel like this is Twitter doctor times. This is their time to talk about all of the science with the knee surgery and all that stuff. I don't know. That's just what I'm thinking. It's time for the doctors to rise up. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. What a crazy set of events. That's all I have to say. What a crazy set of events. Okay, let me make sure. So Benjamin Solak says one of the reasons I liked the Crosby deal for the Raiders was his run defending prowess and Jesse Minter's defense. Hendrickson is great signing for pass rush, but a huge run defense question mark remains. Yeah. We all talked about that article when it came out, right? Essentially saying that when Crosby's healthy, he's not only good in terms of his pass rushing ability, but it's all of the other things he does too. He does so many things for that team that go unsaid. This would set up a world in which we could have a 10-day stretch of Saturday college football slate. So this is Field Yates, by the way. Sunday, full NFL slate. Monday Night Football. Tuesday, MAC action. I'm sorry, I'm a football nerd. I'm never watching the MAC. I'm just letting y'all know. Wednesday, NFL game. Thanksgiving, 3 NFL game. Black Friday, NFL and college football rivalry week. Saturday, college football rivalry week. Sunday, full NFL slate. Monday Night Football. There's so many things going on. I guess this is NFL Draft Files just giving us some Trey Hendrickson moves. Yeah, I mean he's ridiculous. From a pass rushing perspective, Bill Barnwell says, I need multiple doctors giving a thumbs up at the press conference before I believe the Raiders actually signed Trey Hendrickson. That's very funny. Sam Munson, who is from I can't ever remember the show that he's on, but essentially he said here, there's no way this won't be taken badly, but the optics of signing Hendrickson aren't great. But if it was all innocent, isn't the first thing you do reasonably immediately pivot to Trey Hendrickson as plan B? Like, their approach would be the same whether it was cynical or innocent. I don't think so. The NFL is exploring ways. Oh, we already talked about that. People actually thinking that the league should dock Baltimore a pick for this is so naive and funny, man. Even if they did it, which is very much at least possible, there's just zero way of ironclad nailing them for it. You fundamentally can't prove it. Shady, yes, but not illegal. Man, that's just crazy, y'all. Like, I don't really know what to say. It's just absolutely insane. It's just absolutely insane. How long have we been streaming for? We've been going on for an hour and 13 minutes. It's just crazy. It's absolutely bananas. I don't think anybody watching this can say, oh, yeah, this isn't bananas. It's just bananas. It's crazy what's happening. Oh, just absolute mayhem. Yeah, it's just kind of crazy. All right, let's do a little let's see what Mina Kimes is saying about
He had a life
free
insurance
agency news.
Ethos.com. In 10 minutes, you can be covered with life insurance.
Welcome back. to the Mina Kimes Show featuring Lenny, only NFL Pod Patriots. Where would you like to start?
So I'd like to actually start with Dobbs because I think that a lot of Patriots fans are going to be upset because, hey, we moved on from Stephon Diggs and we're going to be in on Alec Pierce and we were talking about A.J. Brown trades. And what's this? I've got to do this Romeo Dobbs thing. And I understand the name recognition is way less than Diggs, Pierce, Brown. And like, there's a lot more excitement. Oh, like, true wide receiver ones and what have you. I think Romeo Dobbs it sounds like it's like 4 years, 70 million. There's like,
I should have started by saying this. Nobody actually knows how much Romeo Dobbs is making. The money was reported multiple ways, multiple up-tos were thrown in. I think I saw 4 years up to 80 million, but that certainly does not mean.
Yeah, you are somewhere in the wide receiver 2 family, right? You're talking about like Wan'Dale Robinson made 19, Rashid Shaheed made 17 on this market. That APY is roughly consistent with what Dobbs is getting. And so in Dobbs, you're getting a really well-rounded wide receiver 2. He's improved as a downfield player over his 4 years in Green Bay, coming off his best season in terms of like first down per target and explosive reception per target. He has a quality blocker, so you can play him in the slot and he can pick up safeties and corners. He's always been a decent separator against pure man coverage in the short areas. You see the Packers use him in like near red zone situations because they like his releases. He has a little bit of hands inconsistency, but in general has just been like, in every other aspect, very, very Eddie steady, and has also improved year over year. It's just the Packers have so many mouths to feed in that passing game. Christian Watson, Jid Reed, Tucker Kraft, like there's such a spread the wealth offense that his target per route rate has just been like average. And so in New England with Drake May, who already wants to be a little bit more of a spread the wealth quarterback.
I think the Romeo Dobbs to Patriots thing is, I would have given that contract over the Wan'Dale Robinson contract. I think that he's going to be really good. Especially, I mean, you needed to sign somebody, right? Because like they let Diggs go. So who's going to be your wide receiver? Now, this doesn't, I think, preclude them from not. If I'm the Patriots, I'm thinking about somebody like Denzel Boston. Denzel Boston is probably not going to go. A lot of the mocks I'm seeing has Denzel Boston going like anywhere from like 82 to 90, not 82, I'm sorry. 23 to 30, 31. So I don't know. I still think they could get another receiver in the first round.
He inherently just makes sense as like an every down wide receiver 2, play the slot, play outside for you, can be on the field in different packages, can do different things. But then also there is a ceiling where if he goes from like that very consistent, 20% target rate to like the 25%, 28% target rate, yeah, he can put up a 1,000-yard season. He hasn't done it yet, but like it's absolutely in his range of outcomes. So Dobbs to the Patriots to me is like very solid, great B free agency signing. And there's no reason to panic because he just doesn't have the name pop the other guys did.
I don't even know if there were that many better options. I think you have to start there. Like, yes, the dream was to get like your prototypical number 1 X receiver. Pierce is borderline there. I think
you're already a little bit wish-cast.
But yeah, it's not A.J. Brown, and the A.J. Brown trade potential we'll see. That's not like dead yet per se, but yeah, I think like as Pierce got 29 million, so you have to top that. Are you really comfortable paying him 30 plus APY? No, but you're putting him out.
Also on the A.J. Brown stuff, it's looking like what they want is a Quentin Williams kind of return. So the the Philadelphia Eagles are asking for a first, a second, and something else. That's how much they're asking for.
Dobbs, I really like what you said about how in Green Bay there were so many mouths to feed, and that did ultimately limit his production, limited everybody's production, right? Mm-hmm. But what you saw when he did get targeted heavily, or when he was, there are certain games where he was the number 1 option. It just always changed in Green Bay. You saw a complete skill set. I think that's why so many teams, I don't know if that many fan bases coveted him personally, but I will say a lot of teams, like Team Blocks, whatever, put their associated Romeo Dobbs with their team because he fills so many roles. And I think, again, similar to what you said in New England, he fills the Diggs role, man. Like that's, the big hole here. You're reliable inside, outside, win in the short, intermediate parts of the field. He can work the middle. He's also really good on outs. Talked about red zone. Like it is a really, it's funny because Diggs, there's a million reasons why he's gone. The primary of which is that he was owed like $27 million this year. Mm-hmm. That's a big hole. He was really important, and his production certainly declined as the season went along, and I'm sure that contributed as well to their comfort moving on from him. But they needed to replace that player in their offense, and they did. I really believe they did. In Dobbs, I put out a stat that I thought was funny just because of the kind of coincidentiality of it all. On intermediate routes, so 10 to 20 yards, Dobbs and Diggs were tied in yards per route.
Oh, yeah, like exactly tied.
Exactly tied. I love when things like that work out.
Yeah.
So, it's just like, all right, cool. Let's take him. Let's go younger. Let's slot him in. I'm not even saying he's necessarily as good as Diggs. Surely not Diggs at his prime. Mm-hmm. But it was such a need to me. And it does not prohibit them from looking to upgrade size, speed, perimeter, whatever, whether it's a hypothetical Brown trade.
Yeah, I think Dobbs is going to be really good for that team. They needed to get someone like him, and I think he's got the upside to be a wide receiver one. And I think the Patriots are, to me, this is a very and it also looks like from the reports, it looks like they offered Alec Pierce a bunch of money, and Alec Pierce did not. Alec Pierce wanted to stay home. I think the Albert Breer report essentially said that he took less money to stay in Indy. So, I mean, that's something to consider too.
Or in the draft. But the reality is they were not going to get a top receiver in the draft anyway, so it makes sense.
Yeah, it improves the room, and it doesn't preclude you from getting the wide receiver one. It fills the Diggs role. I was thinking that's more than filling the Diggs role in terms of the blocking, in terms of the downfield stuff. Like, no, it is not the move that's going to get. Yeah, it's not the move that's going to get the A block on get up tomorrow morning. But in free agency, a lot
A block on NFL Live.
Yeah, it was sick, awesome. The NFL Live, you got to tune in, baby. That's a smart show. But it is the exact sort of double that you want to be hitting in free agency, right? The teams that are attributed the home runs in free agency often are the teams that actually swung and missed a lot, and then the hits that we thought were singles and doubles at the time end up being the home run hits. So to me, this is a perfectly fine, if not entirely sexy, signing for the New England Patriots.
A perfectly cromulent.
Sorry about the commercial.
Heart emoji.
The best group chats happen in real life.
He's so funny. I love you guys.
This is the latest razor developed by Gillette, a super sharp and portable razor. It features
Receiver.
Love a
Yeah, and just looking at by the time you listen to this might have changed, but there's really not many receivers left, right? Like I keep going back to the pool. Like I actually really did see him as the second best option to Pierce.
Yes.
You're looking at Jawan Jennings.
Bill flat. And I respect and appreciate.
All right, I do want to talk about the Titans have been getting a lot of positive and negative stuff for their signings. Salah's essentially just bringing all his guys back. So I want to see what they have to say about the Titans signings, because I've heard multiple things. I've heard, hey, this is great, and other people say, hey, this is not great. So let's see what they're saying about Titans signings.
My guy's connected to their guys. He knows them. These are good culture dudes. But you have to ask yourself, when you are buying the Brian Daboll culture, are you really barking up the right tree?
This is a great point, because Daboll's essentially bringing a bunch of his New York guys back. And I think a real question that is a fair question is, do you really should Daboll just have a check on just how many people he just gets to bring back when he didn't have that much success, right? I feel like that's a very, very, very fair question. I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility for there to be some real questions about that. Some real questions. So, anyways. That's just a thought.
He definitely knows them. Okay, so I have mixed feelings about all of these players. I saw a post that was like, Wan'Dale Robinson, they've got their wide receiver one, and I spat out my water because he's 5'8". We're not doing that.
Yeah, Wan'Dale Robinson is not a wide receiver one. Come on, guys. Who would say it? Anybody that said that doesn't know ball. I'm sorry. Wan'Dale Robinson had a breakout year last year and did really, really well, but he is not a wide receiver one.
But he's a good player. So I don't want to, and also it's not a crazy amount of money. I just think we got to position this correctly. This should, similar to what we were saying about the Jets, this does not take them out of the Cardell Tate market for me. Please, for the love of God, do not make Wan'Dale Robinson your wide receiver one for Cam Ward. But he was very productive in New York after Malik Neighbors went out and his target share started going up. He played outside. He's wins at all three levels. You saw his average of the target go up and whatnot. How do you feel about this deal? And are there any of the deals that we just all the players that they signed? I know we're joking about the Giants and the Jets, but are there any that you really liked?
Yeah. So I think it is important to have a player when you're going to be an RPO heavy team, to have a player who A, can be an immediate separator off the line of scrimmage, and then B, who can take a shallow depth of target throw, these throws at or near the line of scrimmage, and make explosive plays out of them, right? Like when Rashee Rice hit for the Chiefs, when he first, oh my gosh, look at the yak on this guy. He wasn't, getting yak on 15-yard inbreakers. He was getting them all these screens. But you still need a player who's capable of becoming that good of a runner after the catch. Securing that player for Brian Daboll's offense, which would be RPO heavy because that's how he is, and that works for Cam Ward, was important. $19 million per year is a lot to spend on that specific role, right? I think if you look at Robinson's box score production last year, he had over 1,000 yards, he had 93 receptions. Wow, looks great. You go into the advanced metrics. He had negative 5.3 receptions over expectation. So he had fewer catches than expectation relative to the difficultness of his targets. He had 12 yak under expectation. So yes, he had 419 total yards after the catch, but he actually had less than expected relative to the opportunities that he got. Wandale is good at these manufactured touches, but he's not a player who's creating like above expectation on his manufactured touches. When we adjust for the role that he gets, he's kind of like league average in that role. It's just Dable knows that he can fill it. So you're kind of paying out the wazoo for familiarity. To me, Cordell Flott is a very similar thing, where I think Flott is a fine corner too. You're paying $15 million because you know he's a fine corner too.
Than I thought he would get. He got more than, I mean, Jamel Dean is older, but like he's a better player. I
did like a 5 players that are going to make a lot more money than you think. Guy leaving Indy video, and my last player on the list was Cordell Flott, and I was just like, hey, everybody I'm talking to is telling me this guy's about to get paid. I don't know what to tell you. Like, he's just like, I mean, Eric Stokes got 10 million, Cordell Flott got 15 million. Like, if teams know that you can fill a corner role, they will just pay for the certainty of it, I suppose.
You and I were joking about how many people keep saying Titans pick 4 Jeremiah Love. Okay. Pretty cool when your biggest needs are receiver and edge.
Gotta go edge, in my opinion.
Edge is the one I'm like, oh my God. Because the one signing I did like, I think Jonathan Myers is a really good player. And it's funny too.
By the way, we're going to finish this Titans thing, and then there's some more news on Trey Hendrickson that I want to kind of get to. But let's finish what they're saying about the Titans. Because, look, the Titans this is relevant to NFL free agency. They had, I think, more cap space than anybody, and so they're spending a lot of money. But it's going to be interesting to see. Look, I've got friends that are Titans fans. I'm rooting for them. I want them to do well, but I'm interested to see how all of this is going to play out.
Because he was like the one that got away for Salah. Like they did that bizarre trade from the Jets to the Broncos, and then he was awesome.
Yeah, right.
Now people point to that and say, okay, cool, but he played on the Broncos defensive line. He gets playing next to Jeffrey Simmons now. Throw another, like a legit edge into that mix, and suddenly...
Before Skyscanner, we had to play all kinds of silly games to find travel deals.
Consult the Orb of Savings.
Friggin' head covers.
You got a pretty nice defensive line there, right? So, like, if you were to put in, like, a Bane, that is power.
Bane,
that is
to me, is the guy that I think
tremendous
Salah's
against the
like a lot.
run. Like, I would be very excited about that. And I know with the young quarterback, you want to support them and whatnot, but, like, it's just not how I would approach it.
Next Gen Stats had the stat in the last 2 seasons combined. Franklin Myers and Simmons are both top 4 in terms of pressure rate from the defensive tackle position, right? And we talked about this a lot in the lead up to the Super Bowl in the context of how could the Patriots possibly win this game? Don't win Christian Barmore. One of the ways to just beat superior offenses is to just blow up the interior, right? If there's just never a healthy pocket, if there's always interior push, if you cannot run the ball between the tackles, you just slice away so much of the playbook that you can kind of drag that team down to your level. And so if you're looking at how does this Titans team, take a step forward in the win column year 1 to year 2, okay, Dable, Cam Ward, address receiver, whatever, but Franklin Myers and Simmons are capable of just ruining games against below average offensive linemen. It's that caliber of defensive tackle room where, like, emphatically, it's them or the Seahawks, them Seahawks or Patriots, I should say, in terms of the best defensive tackle room in the league.
It's also Robert Saleh when you think about.
Yeah. I mean, that's, to me, I really love. Simmons is absolutely no one is going to be able to run on them. Like, if you're trying to run on A gap or B gap, if you're trying to run up the middle on the Titans, that's not going to happen because that defensive tackle room is probably the best defensive tackle room of, like, anybody in the league outside the Patriots.
The defensive structure that he wants to play with. And actually, Bane isn't the best fit for that. Like,
so Salah's always liked to have at least one hoss at edge.
Yeah.
And then he'll have like his big speed guy, 245 pounds per step. But he does typically like to have one guy who can really actually go pound for pound against the tackle, which to me is Bane.
I just want to plant my flag. I wouldn't be angry at any of the top 3 edges here. They're all fine. Like I like them all. I know I'm cowardly right now. I'm gonna rank them at some point. I promise. They're all so different, and they all have pluses and minuses.
Reese, I feel like would be weird because they have no hybrid role.
I know Reese is the do you have a plan?
So that'd be
all right. Let's share a little bit of this. We've got more Trey Hendrickson's pressure rate by 2020. Well, let me make sure y'all can see what I'm looking at. Trey Hendrickson's pressure rate by season since 2020, 14th, 4th, 5th, 6th, 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 ranked among players. So 250 pass rush. So he actually had a lower rate last year. While there's been an intense backlash at the Ravens for backing out of the Maxx Crosby trade, there's really no recourse to the Raiders or the NFL. Even when trades are official, they often have conditions that are negotiated, including a player reporting to a new club and passing a physical by a certain date. The result of a physical is at the discretion of the new club's doctor. Ted who follows. He writes for The Athletic and is very, very good. He says things aren't so bad for the Raiders. They're a much proven team, have the cap space of Crosby, and have one of the best edges that's hell bent on proving people wrong. I do think he's going to go off for like he's gonna go off for a lot. So it's crazy. It's crazy. Trey Hendrickson is expected a $30 million, good gracious, $30 million market and never came. Then the Ravens Maxx Crosby situation happened and he landed $28 million with incentives to reach $30 million. Around the NFL, the belief is simple. If Trey got paid elsewhere on day one, Maxx Crosby would still be a Raven. We're still waiting to hear from Baltimore. Just wild. I think Ari this is really what encapsulates this whole thing, right? Around the NFL, the belief is simple. If Trey got paid elsewhere on day one, Maxx Crosby would still be a Raven. Oh, man. Yeah, that's crazy. NFL team. This is Jay Glazer from Fox, right? He says, hold on. Teams around the NFL are definitely shocked, to say the least, at Ravens backing out, and a few teams who were previously interested already committed their money elsewhere, so they don't come in bad all around. John says, not all teams who were previously interested. Oh, my God. It's a wild time to be alive. That's all I got to say. It's what happened in the last, I don't know how many days has been crazy, y'all. I mean, it has been yeah, it's been crazy.
W-2 and file your taxes 100% free. Plus, get your biggest refund. Roughly 37% of filers qualify. Simple Form 1040 returns only. File now.
My story is about supporting people when they need it the most. My story is about creating.
To continue on the Seahawks theme, because player I know well. Kind of like what the Bengals are doing. Not gonna lie, kind of like this little defense they're putting together. You know, there's a lot of pressure on this unit, obviously because of the importance of bringing that defense to average, even though they actually, I talked about this on a show, statistically were an average defense in the second half of the season. But I think a lot of that improvement came on the back end, the corners in particular, Dax Hill, DJ Turner. They added another, by the way, Brian Cook. I don't know if you saw that, the chief safety signed with them. Love that. Competence.
Yeah.
Good.
He signed 2 hours later than Kobe Bryant did. Bryant was 3 years, $40 million. Brian Cook was 3 years, $40.25 million. I love free agency. It's such a good bit, dude.
The Larry need was pass rush, though, and it remains a need. And with pick 9, one would hope they would address it. But Mafe is nice player. 3 years, $60 million, 20 APY. So that's not expensive in my opinion. And he
Also, there's 98 of you in here, so thank you. I've got a few people on YouTube, and then there's like a bunch of people on X. So appreciate y'all being here. Like I said, I'm going to be doing this every morning, Monday through Thursday. Friday, I have to stream at a different time because I work earlier on Friday. And then during the weekends, it'll be kind of random. So just follow me and I'll let y'all know when I stream on the weekends.
He was good in Seattle. You know, it was kind of an analytics darling, like pass rush win, which is the ESPN metric, loves him. He was like 8th this year. He's always very high. But his usage started to decline. And last year, you saw another dip as they just continued adding depth. And
It does feel like Cincinnati, like, I mean, Cincy is I feel like they're willing to spend more money this year, and they're actually doing some good things in Cincinnati with the defense that they're putting together. And they need to do something because they're always atrocious. You have one of the best quarterbacks ever in Joe Burrow, and you continue to not give him a defense. So it seems like the defense they're putting together is okay. Like, it's not going to win any awards, but all you need when you have Joe Burrow on the other side is a competent defense.
he became part of rotation. So for Cincinnati, the bet is that he can be more of a complete player, stay on the field more, and complete, I think, is the thing I would use to describe him. He is exceptional against the run.
Yeah, that was my thing. Is I was like, oh well, he's probably not good enough against the run for him to be a primary guy. And you look at the numbers, you're like, he's 260 and he plays. Yeah.
He's really good against the run. I think he has continued, like, he's a pass rusher I could see taking another leap. Came in, I think, with some development to go in terms of his pass rush plan. But I super athletic, works really hard, plays with a great motor. And listen to me, if you're able to put I put Ruben Bain Jr. on every team, but let's say Ruben Bain Jr. is there for them at Big Ten. Wouldn't it be nice? Put him opposite Boye Mafe. I'm just saying. So I do like
Ruben Bain Jr., the Romeo Dobbs of the NFL draft. Just fits on every team, going to every team.
For me, he is. No, I would just like
Ruben Bain isn't making it to Cincy. I think the Ruben Bain stuff in terms of like his arms and stuff like that, everybody was saying something like that because they want him on their team. Ruben Bain reminds me of Tedero McMillan from last year, right? Like everybody was saying that Tedero had all these, Todd McShay went out and said, oh yeah, teams are really concerned about his effort. And then we learn after the draft that the Rams wanted to trade with the Panthers. No.
Honestly, if Sonny Styles is there, good Lord, that'd be a dream for them. So, but I do like this signing. How did you feel about it? And how did you feel about it in the context of Owe getting 25 and Phillips getting 30? We're going to talk about Owe in a second.
So I agree with the umbrella takeaway on Mafe, a player that should be capable of taking more snaps. He was fourth in that rotation, behind D'Lo, behind Nwosu, behind Derek Hall. We're talking about the true edge for the Seahawks. Should be able to play the field for all 3 downs, should be able to increase the total snap count. And then his pressure numbers are great. His sack numbers were terrible, right? Like 11% pressure rate, less than 1% sack rate. That sort of thing that you expect to regress positively, where if that pressure rate stays sticky, he had like a 9-sack season in 2023 when he was a full-time player. We should be able to return to a decent 2%.
That's kind of interesting because that's the criticism for Phillips too, right? Jaden Phillips has really good pressure rates, really good hurries. So the hope, I think, with the Panthers is like, hopefully those pressures can turn into sacks. And I know like it's the conversation around like pressure, hurries, and sacks is like a very, like, people that just watch the game, they're like, they're not getting any sacks. And then the advanced analytics bros are like, it's not all about sacks, right? It's not all, it's the pressure. It's how uncomfortable you make the quarterback. So tale is old of time, right? Like we're always going to have this conversation between hurries and sacks, and it's not going away anytime soon.
Sack rate, that's more so what you expect for that caliber of player. I do think 20 million is a lot, man. I mean, he's 28. That's the thing. He came to the league as a very old rookie, right? Because he was like a transfer and he was in Minnesota for a while. So he's making 20 million per year. Gregory Rousseau and George Karlaftis both signed for 20 million per year. They were 24 when they got those deals, those extensions with their own teams, right? The Bills and the Chiefs. And obviously, open market, it's a little bit different than the internal extension when you don't hit the open market. But clearing Josh Sweat, clearing John Grenard, these are guys who've had like double-digit sack seasons, being 3-down players for their teams, and we know it. We're positive. You can write it in stone. Mafe is theory. Like, we think he's going to be able to get there. So to me, getting 20 million per for Boye Mafe is an enormous win for Mafe and for representation. You obviously, you're getting it from the Bengals, which means that you don't have a lot of guarantees, and you're not going to have guarantees past year 2 and whatever. Yeah. So some of that's where his landing spot. But I do think 20 for Mafe is a lot. Owe, 25 million. Owe played 50% of the snaps for the Chargers. He was edge 3 for the Chargers, and he got the Nick Bonito deal. Like, that is fat, man. I don't know. I think the edges got overpaid.
Owe, let's talk about him so the Commanders paid him. The Commanders had a ton of money and obviously a glaring need at pass rush. I think I was so distracted by them paying a guy under the age of 30 and just being happy about that.
Right. And not a Adam Peters fit or Dan Quinn fit, right? A new dude.
For just bucking the trend, guys. And, he's an interesting. I agree about the money. It's an interesting one because he's another one that Advanced Metrics really always liked in Baltimore. But I don't think the production ever quite lived up to the potential. So then they trade him mid-season to the Chargers. He gets to play with Mack and Thule, and sometimes they were on the field all three of them together, and he was incredibly productive in a half a season, right, under Jesse Minter. So I think this is sort of a bet on that continuing, and the feeling that maybe, like, you know, with the scheme change and some aging, because he was, if I remember correctly, very raw coming into the NFL, right? Wasn't he? He was like an athletic.
Yep, he was at Penn State testing,
Penn
crazy
State,
guy. I think he had started playing football, I want to say sophomore year of high school, if memory serves. He came over from, I want to say Nigeria. He lived with LeVar Arrington, if I'm remembering his story correctly.
That thing won't fit in the nursery.
That thing is a collectible. You know, scientists say it's educational.
Oh, that's upside down. Remember.
Yeah, so he had 5 sacks his sophomore year and then 0.
I think the thing with the pass rushers, I think the thing with the pass rushers is that it's not going, like, they're all getting overpaid. They're all saying this, right? Like Owe, Phillips, everybody is getting overpaid. The market is getting overpaid. So, I mean, it is what it is at this point.
0 sacks his junior year, despite not recording a sack in his final season. He was known for his athletic photography.
Oh, no, that wasn't him. That was some other Penn State guy who lived with LeVar
Is
Arrington.
AI lying to me? Is that what I'm reading? Oh no, you were giving me the yeah. Owe is what it is what I remember, which he had the no sacks in Penn State.
Yes, that's the guy. Yeah.
Yes, it was the very like, ooh, are they really going to do this? But in some ways, so you can look at that kind of thing 2 ways. You can be like, okay, cool, so that he's just not like a finisher, or you can look at it as he started raw and maybe he'll get better. And I don't know, we'll see.
Right. My thing is just, you're paying him $25 million per year. He has to play all 3 downs, and he, out of 141 edges last year, was 130th in rush stop win rate. Right, like this is not a player who is an impactful run defender at this stage. And Durante Jones, who's a new DC there in Washington, he comes from Minnesota. They had, like, Andrew Van Ginkel was like 124th in run stop win rate. Like, they have this outside linebacker mold that is a player that they largely try to protect from being like an in the trenches, hold a gap, run defending player. Great. Van Ginkel's like the goat of coverage drops and breaking up screens, and like, he provides so much utility and ancillary value outside of the sack and the pass rush. Oh wait, not that. And then the other player who's like a still a really good second contract player with a low.
Yeah, I think that the big takeaway for me is like the agent class is all getting overpaid. The edge rushing classes, they're all getting overpaid, and that's okay, because sometimes you have to overpay for that to happen. So, but yeah, that's, man, just some crazy things happening in the air.
NFL and CBS Sports, Aditi
Kikabwala. Okay.
Kikabwala, yep.
Yeah. Too risky. Just insane. It's just insane.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's go back to
Kyler Murray does wind up in Minnesota.
That Minnesota is capable of being a playoff football team, and Minnesota has sent a very clear message to J.J. McCarthy that you better get yourself together both on and off the field as a starting quarterback now. I think that Kyler is an interesting fit. I've talked about it. Kyler will have to kind of change the way he plays, but for Minnesota to kind of give up on a first-round draft pick quarterback under how many games has he played? 10?
Yes.
Within 10 games is a big time change.
I'm not sure that Kyler has to change the way that he plays as much as O'Connell has to change the way that he coaches. And I think I would be a little bit more hyperbolic, I guess, than you. And what I think him going to the Vikings means is when Kyler is playing well, he's as good as just about anybody in football. So if they can find a way to sustain that success that he's had MVP level runs
2 years ago
for over 6, 7, 8 games. So I guess in my mind, if you can create that, we're looking at the best team right up there with the Rams in the NFC. Like this could change.
You think Minnesota, if Kyler's playing at a high level, is just as good as the Rams?
Absolutely. I know the defense is going to be good. I know that Brian Flores is going to be able to create.
Oh, I don't know about all that. I mean, I know that Get Up is really about, that is crazy. That is absolutely crazy.
Pressure with that defense. That defense is going to be good. You get Justin Jefferson at the highest level possible. Like, it's not as if they have Darashaw playing high-level tackle. If Kyler Murray can play his best football, number 1 overall drafted quarterback for an extended period of time, they are as good as the Rams.
This is an insane take.
What will it mean to you if Kyler Murray does?
And I actually like Foxworthy, but that take is, I can't get behind that. I can't get behind that at all.
Where Trey Hendrickson, Zach, there is an alternate universe where Trey Hendrickson has lowered his price on Monday. He says, gosh, I don't want to be left cold. All right, I'll take $26 million from someone. And he agrees to a deal on Monday. When all those deals were flying, he agrees to a deal at some point on Monday. And then on Tuesday, Maxx Crosby comes into the Baltimore Ravens facility. And yes, they had the medical scans and information. They had talked with doctors. And the Ravens doctors get their hands on Maxx Crosby and they learn whatever they wound up learning on Tuesday. What do the Ravens do? To whom do they pivot? Right? The Ravens were able to pivot to Trey Hendrickson because he was still out there and available. Do they pull out of the Maxx Crosby deal if Trey Hendrickson has already agreed to terms with another team? Would Trey Hendrickson go back on his word with the team that he had agreed to terms with? Right? We'll never know. We'll never know. And we're going to talk more about Maxx Crosby. Right now, let's focus on Trey Hendrickson, who 31 years old, going on 32 years old. He'll be 32 later in the 2026 NFL season. This is a deal, you know, we're talking 4 years, 112, 16, $120 million. This is frankly a 2-year, $60 million deal. And then it's a year-to-year proposition. Okay, so the Ravens are going to say, we want to get the best out of you, 31 going on 32. Want to get the best out of you, 32 going on 33. And if you can return to form, because he had 17 and a half sacks in consecutive seasons and then has that hit.
Crazy. I don't really believe look, this is going to be something that we all talk about for years to come, right? We're all going to be talking about what happened with this deal. I don't think anybody is going to remember what happened. I don't think anybody's going to forget what happened. It's kind of crazy. All right. We're about to log off here, but just to cover some Panthers news real quick. It looks like the Derek Brown stuff. He got essentially, they restructured his contract. So that's important. It's important that happened. And that gives more room. I know that Panthers Twitter especially was absolutely freaking out about the fact that, they were absolutely freaking out about the fact that, like, you know, we were signing these guys, and let me see if I can go to the original one. So essentially, be careful what you wish for. Panthers just signed 2 guys I hope never see the light of day protecting Bryce Young. I even said, come on, bro, he's a depth signing and depth pieces. And I showed what Brandon Thorne had said, because Brandon Thorne has been very vocal about the fact that, like, it's not as bad as people think it is. And so we always do this thing where we overreact to depth signings. And, you know, like we've got to just be aware that it's not all over, you know, it's not all over. And Dan Morgan has more of a plan. It's not just going to be, you know, we don't know what's going to happen in the draft. We don't know any of this stuff, right? Like, I just think we got to be careful with just saying, oh, there's no way this is going to happen, right? Like but once again, this Panthers this Panthers fan base. And I'm part of the fan base, and I love the fan base, but we can be real reactive sometimes. Like, we can be real reactive. Ugh.
This just does not happen. It has happened on multiple other occasions in the past on much smaller. At this point, I would say this: the reaction from other people within the NFL that I am getting is predominantly about how the Ravens pulled the rug out, regardless of what their reasoning was. This just does not happen. It has happened on multiple other occasions in the past on much smaller trades or agreements involving the Ravens. However, when you're talking about trading 2 first-round picks, this is not an unknown issue with Maxx Crosby. Everyone knew he had a knee injury. Everyone knew he finished on injured reserve. Everyone knew, based on Ian's reporting, that he had a meniscus surgery that was actually not just a trim, but a meniscus repair that has a longer-term type of a timeline. But that did not stop several teams from offering a first-round pick and more as part of a trade offer. It did not stop the Ravens from offering 2 first-round picks. This is not a situation where you put in a bid in an online auction, and then if you don't like the item, you return it via Amazon. This is a trade involving a superstar player in the NFL. Clearly, they came to the conclusion that there was something they were not comfortable with. And again, it does bear mentioning. 32 teams, 32 doctors, 32 degrees of risk tolerance. What one team might be willing to accept, whether it's in the draft process, a free agent signing, a trade, is something that another team might say, we're simply not going to go there. That's why every year, we're going through the pre-draft process right now, you'll hear about players having medical flags. There might be 31 teams who say, we won't pass this guy. We won't put a uniform on him. But if one team is willing to do it, then that player is going to play in the NFL. Maxx Crosby is a known commodity with a known injury. Clearly, something happened. He was in Baltimore today.
This was last night, by the way. So this is last night, and Pelissero's absolutely going off on the idea. Pelissero's absolutely going off on the idea that, like, it's just, oh my gosh. Oh my God. Oh man, I forgot. Let's see what our good friend Stephen A. Smith is saying. Oh, my bad. I got it.
Was going on. You knew he was coming off an injury. You knew what a study was. You wanted him on your squad.
I know that all of us here are here. I know that all of us are here for Stephen A. Smith takes. I know that we when we wake up in the morning, we need to know what Stephen A. Smith is saying in terms of the NFL.
And then the deal was supposedly agreed upon, and then all of a sudden you renege because you're claiming a physical, and then you end up with Trey Hendrickson. In the end, the Ravens win no matter which way you slice it because Trey Hendrickson can ball. We all know that. We know that coming into this past season, he was a sack leader with over 35 sacks over the previous 2 years. So he can really get to the quarterback, and that's what your need is. If you're the Baltimore Ravens, you were bereft of significance when it comes to getting to the pass rusher last season, getting to the quarterback last season. And you knew that was a priority that needed to be addressed. So when they lost out on Crosby, I was like, oh my goodness, he must be really bad physically. That was your initial presumption. But then you turn around and you see that they got him, and you're saying to yourself, maybe they had this in the plans all along. Maybe this came to fruition as the days progressed when you knew that Maxx Crosby was going to end up in your squad. But Adam Schefter just educated us that the Ravens arguably was pursuing both and trying to get both. The fact.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I can only do so much of that. I'm sorry. I can only do so much of that. I'm sure the Ravens backing out of the trade will hurt their reputation so much it hurts their business. This is famously a league and media ecosystem built on reputation and not self-interest. I mean, I think it's a fair thing to ask. Like, our team's not going to want to make deals anymore. I think it's a fair thing to ask. I really do think it's a fair thing to ask. If I'm Howie and the Eagles, this is Kevin from SportsCenter. If I'm Howie and the Eagles, I target Maxx Crosby and offer 2027 incentive picks, That could turn one into a first depending on Crosby's availability and production. Sounds easy? It's not. Curious what the Raiders' mindset is after the last 24 hours. Yeah, that's a good point.
$112 million contract. So let's talk about the positive as well, because this is a dude that has gone through a lot of BS as well with his organization. Let's talk about the timeline, right? March 2021, Hendrickson signs a 4-year, $60 million deal with the Bengals, right? 2021 has 14 sacks that season. Next year, 22 has 8 sacks. 2023, they come back and they sign him to just a 1-year, $21 million deal. He wanted long-term, and he wanted security in Cincinnati. They refused year after year to give it to him. 2024 has 17 and a half sacks. He comes back and he requests a trade. He requests a trade and says, you guys don't want to hold me down? Look what I'm doing. I need security too. I need long-term. Another year, another 17 and a half sacks. Then we saw the hold in 2025, which ends up, he has a 4-sack season last year because he only played in 7 games. He ends up getting hurt, has surgery, core muscle surgery. Hopefully he will be okay. So let's not hold our breath on this either, because Trey Hendrickson as well had surgery, and we saw how the other.
If he passes the physical, right? He's got to pass the physical, guys. Just crazy stuff. Crazy stuff happening today. I've been on stream for a couple of hours now. I think I'm gonna hop off. There's 105 of you on here right now, and that is incredible. Thank you for being here. I'm so excited y'all are here. I stream every morning, and I will continue to stream every morning. On Fridays, it has to be at a different time because I have like my real job that I have to show up for. But thank you all for being here. Follow, like, do all the things, and we'll talk soon. Okay.